Hello, my name is Blade, and this is what I watched in May. If you're new here, these are movies that I watched for the first time this month, not including new releases. This was a month that started off very slow for me, but did fortunately pick up as the month went on, so let's get into it. The first movie I watched this month was 1977's House. To anyone familiar with cinema, this is probably a surprise to see as a first watch in 2026, but listen, there are a lot of movies to get around to, okay? This was an interesting one for me because there's a lot to like, but there is one thing that slightly holds it back for me. I'm gonna come out the gate and say I totally understand why this is so influential and still referenced today. There are some truly gorgeous, unique shots and imagery, not to mention the absurdity of it. The only thing that slightly bothers me is the nudity. I'm not a prude by any means. I just don't like that these are meant to be school-aged girls and they're featured nude quite a bit in the third act. Not gratuitously by any means. I just think it's one of those things that didn't age well with time. Otherwise, fantastic movie. Next up in May, I watched Breathless from 1983. It stars Richard Gere playing, I suppose you could say, an outlaw. He's a guy on the run from the police, but he ends up falling for a girl who he wants to come with him on his shenanigans. The main thing I have to say about this movie is I've never seen Richard Gere play a character like this before. He's so eccentric in this role with some genuine charisma. He's very entertaining to watch, and I adore this character as well as the love interest played by Valerie Kapritsky. This isn't like a 10 out of 10 lost to time classic. However, I think it honestly should very much so be a classic. It's a fun time with some cool, stylish filmmaking as well. So, this is one I stumbled upon randomly when looking for something to watch, and I was in the mood for something more on the spooky side. This intrigued me because it seemed to be in the same realm as something like the original The Strangers. I also noticed one of the directors on the film was David Moreau, who directed 2024's Mads. Ultimately, this is an innocent short thriller film. I think the opening is really strong. The middle is effective, however, the end half goes to places I didn't much care for. It introduces ideas I don't think it needed to. I much preferred it in the more Strangers esque tone, but overall, this is inoffensive. I debated on even including this one in the video, but I did indeed watch it in May, so I suppose by my own rules I have to put it in. I was hanging out with my family and we were looking for something to watch, and somehow we stumbled upon this, and oh boy. I don't think the premise is bad, actually. It's in that world of something like The Omen or Orphan, but with twins. However, and I'm not usually this blunt, but it's just not that good. Like, it's fine. It's not offensively bad, but despite a few gags and like one genuinely gnarly moment, it's mostly predictable and the characters make very unbelievable decisions. Also, the ending is just abysmal and jarring. Yet another one you might be surprised to see as a first watch in our ungodly year of 2026, but here we are. This one might be even more offensive that I'm barely watching it, considering that my cousins love this movie and the musical adaptation, so I've been surrounded by references to it for quite some time, but I barely got around to it now. Off the bat, I have to say how much I was smacked in the face by this movie. It was not what I was expecting at all. I knew there was going to be a Mean Girls or like potentially even a Clueless like quality to it. What I was not expecting was, first of all, the tone and humor, but mostly I was not expecting the death. The dialogue style is so wild and reminds me of something closer to Jennifer's Body, which obviously this came out well before Jennifer's Body. I'm just trying to make a more modern reference point. But, anyways, this was great. Additionally, without getting too deep into some dark topics, but I have to say this film was really ahead of its time in its themes and the violence that would unfortunately start to take place in American schools in the years to come. Alright, so here's a movie I've been curious about for years now, and it was made available for free on YouTube, so I was finally able to watch it. The general gist here is Christian Bale plays a factory worker suffering from intense insomnia, and he begins to be followed by a strange man. Now, that is very boiled down, but this is a movie where the less details before watching, the better. It's been a very long time since I've seen a psychological thriller that's genuinely had me confused as to what's going on. Every time that I thought I was connecting the dots, I was proved very wrong. I can't quite find the words to describe it, but there's something very unique about this movie. The tone and the world of it is just very specific. I will be honest and say I'm not quite sure how I feel about the ending. I think there is some next level, very well written foreshadowing once you know the outcome, but I think a rewatch is necessary for me to form a full opinion on the ending. Right now, I'm a bit unsure as to if I'm completely convinced on it. In the words of the amazing Sean Baker, long live independent film. Tapeface is a small budget found footage film you can watch right now for free on YouTube. I will link it below. I came across it from one shot that I saw posted online and it immediately grabbed my attention. To me, Tapeface is a perfect example of not waiting for a big studio to notice you or for a huge budget to come through. Just pick up a camera and do the damn thing. Not only can you make something cool, but as we're seeing right now with the success of Obsession and Backrooms, it's not a waste of your time. Tapeface has some very effective, eerie moments. The opening sequence is honestly probably one of the most unsettling things I've seen in the 2020s so far. The practical effects here are pretty dang good with some gnarly, brutal scenes I didn't expect to see in something without an age restriction on YouTube. I also think there's some genuinely cool stylistic shots and editing choices. I really recommend you watch this and support independent filmmakers, such as myself, just by the way. Lastly, in May, I watched May, not on purpose, just mere coincidence. This is a quirky little movie about a quirky little bitch. I think this is a really fun time with an interesting and truly unique main character. I was not expecting this movie to go where it went, but I'm very much here for it. I love a movie that doesn't necessarily start off as a horror movie, but finds its way into horror territory. Also, wasn't anticipating the WLW content, but hell yeah, happy Pride Month, you guys.
Hi, gay. Happy Pride Month.
Lastly, I know he turned out to be kind of a jerk, but I understand, May. I too would have fallen for Adam. However, I will say maybe ask before you do something a little next level freaky. You know, you gotta make sure they're gonna match your freak before you fully freak out. What the fuck sentence did I just say? Well, that's all for the month of May. This month overall was a pretty fun one. There was a wide range of different types of movies. Also, the new releases in this month were amazing. I do have reviews up for both Obsession and Backrooms if you're interested. If you liked this, consider liking, commenting, subscribing. I do one of these videos every month, as well as reviews and video essays. I am also a small independent filmmaker. I just put out a performance art film last week, actually, titled Invisible Ink, inspired by the Wuthering Heights soundtrack. So if that sounds interesting to you or like your thing, maybe consider checking it out. But That's all for now. I will see you in the next one.